jump straight into it.
Runeword changes, guys. Let's check this out.
Absolutely.
This is important.
So,
Because
again,
a lot of them were kind of weak.
Awesome feedback. We
like,
got lots of different things. That
You ran Ohm,
and we've heard
and
multiple
Yom.
times in
That's
couple
it.
different things with the rune words that really just people kept repeating over and over again. Really, mostly stemming down to two major issues with the whole system. And so previously, we had, on the PTR,
Okay.
we had the legendary runes that were a lot stronger, you know, because you want to reach that point eventually to where you get the powerful runes, and then you play the game that way. Well, that was kind of outshining a lot of the other possibilities and like the idea that we had with the
runes should be competitive.
Mixing and matching,
Wow.
creating different combinations. So what we are ending up doing now is we are taking that top end and we're going to bring it down. And then on the flip side, the second thing that we heard a lot of is those bottom runes. Those I don't want to say bottom runes. The magic and rare runes that you find a little earlier, especially those runes of ritual, where you are. Those are the ones where you're actually like doing things to gain offering to then invoke those runes of invocation.
So I don't think they're
powers
changing the
that you
whole
have.
systems.
Those were intentionally a bit lower so that you have some progress, but it felt like when you get them, it wasn't enough. You didn't get to really feel those runes happen and pop off when you get them.
Takes too long
so
in earlier
on the other
stages,
side,
for sure.
we are taking that bottom end and bringing it up. So together, we're kind of, I don't want to say flattening out, but we are making it a
They're
lot
nerfing
more
the good
options
ones
for
and then they're
players
buffing the bad ones. That's the best way to put it, but I guess
really
he
have
wants
choices throughout your whole journey
another word.
rather than just a linear, you know, get the stronger one and then obviously it's stronger.
No, I
and,
did still get
what
the
this will
stronger.
also do, and the focus on this is to also make those utility runes really, really potent and really pop off and a lot more visual things.
I mean,
happen.
I gotta see these
And
numbers
then finally, we removed a couple runes
to make
that weren't
judgment
quite
here.
meeting our expectations. We have this thing that we say every once in a while, which is like condense the fun, and we want to make that, you know, like the ideal situation where we have, you know, the runes that we have are the ones that are cool and fun, and not like over bloated with just a bunch of things that don't always like meet those expectations.
Yeah, we want you to have lots of options, and we don't want individual runes or effects to really overshadow everything else. But that does mean that, you know, we want to make sure that all the options are really compelling. And so ones that aren't meeting our bar, we just would rather take them out rather than leave them in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And I think we're always going to be adding to the rune system.
Of course.
Right? So
Yeah,
we want to leave
yeah.
ourselves the space. We didn't want to water down the pool with things like the lightning bolt effect rune. It's like that didn't really have, it was an evolutionary dead ends. We didn't
I'd rather
necessarily
have
any way to juice that up.
bad one than
So
nothing,
we
'cause
want
you
one
could
of
maybe
rune
make
drops
something
where
out of
it's feel
something
like,
bad.
oh, this is a new toy I can play with.
But
right?
It's
that's
important
whatever.
that every choice in the rune system is meaningful. Like every possible rune you can take.
I
or
still think there's
combination, like,
terrible
there's something
ones,
there,
though.
right?
Yeah, you want to feel it for sure, and it doesn't want to be something
But
that
we'll-
you know,
we'll see what we-
you just like. Oh, I got this rune, and it's like, well, let me find.
We see
another
when
one.
they show off the newer numbers. Okay.
All right, so here's some examples of some of the big outliers. We heard lots of feedback around these two, especially.
rip.
That
Almost
Warcry rune.
so much worse
so
now.
While
And
was
it made
giving
it cost
berserking to
more.
everyone, it was a big power bonus. And so we're
said-
going to
I said that, Ohm and Yom.
by just it's no longer going to give
And they just
that,
nerfed the best ones.
That enhanced
Why would they
version.
do that?
It's just the baseline version, so it no longer gives berserking to all players.
Just make
That
it
doesn't mean
exciting.
still works for
I don't get why the
barbarians,
Diablo
because
4
that
team
is their skill. They should
consistently
still
does
be
this with
able
their
to
stuff. They
gain
make
that
something
power
cool like
as
the
they
Crown of
expect.
Lucian, and then they just
And then
ruin it.
Down with the Yam, which is that Druid Petrify. The rune itself is not changing. What's actually changing is on Druids themselves, their ultimate there is no longer going to give that critical bonus baseline. It's now going to be the enhanced version. So if you want that as a Druid, you can still get that big, powerful critical damage bonus. But now that baseline is going to be that big stun, that big AoE moment that you see everything on the screen freeze, and also just juice you up with a bunch of resource. And this is general like class resource. So unlike what it'll say for the Druid is it says their spirit goes up. On the rune, it says it is your resource, so everyone
Okay, that's
gets this
actually
huge,
a nice
big
buff
moment where you can
for a lot
kind
of different
reset,
builds,
so.
potentially.
So if I'm a sorcerer, it doesn't generate spirit; it generates mana. For me.
Yes,
It'll give you
Right,
yes.
right.
You don't
Okay.
just get
See,
a second
that's a good
bubble.
change, but the fact that they nerfed like the best one,
Yeah, that'd be weird.
it's just disappointing. I don't know why they did that.
I like that this puts a lot more emphasis on the utility of
I
runes,
also
which is
want to
sort of
rework
what we
Enigma, just
envisioned
straight up
originally
teleport.
intending, right? Not
No,
every
I have to
choice is
move,
going to be a multiplicative
do
damage
something.
source. So you should have a lot more options. It's more focused on
But
utility.
okay,
Yeah,
genuinely,
actually
like
stealing other
Yom
classes'
good
power.
change,
Obviously,
terrible.
multiplication
They made it
damage
cost
is probably
more
the single
and making
strongest
it
thing you can
worse.
do in an ARPG. And just when we noticed these ones were really those ones that are overshadowing every other option, we still think those will find a great niche for the builds that want it, but they won't be the only choice that no one else can use anything else for.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I think you should just buff the other ones and never
All
nerf.
right,
But
so here's some examples. Again, I want to preface, this is not all of them. There are a bunch of changes. You guys will see them in the patch notes as we had already talked about.
the wolf does 0
some of the
damage,
big
so
ones
none of the
that,
stats
I
matter.
wanted to show off here.
I tried make it with
so
minions.
Spiritborn Vortex,
It's so
that's the one
bad.
that pulls everyone in.
I
you
wish it
group
was good.
everything together. That is going to be almost. You're going to be able to get that off almost twice as often as it was before.
Well, it's because you made
so
it half
you're-
the cost, so that's
Combine
good.
that in with something that has some grindy damage in the middle, and you're going to be just having this pop off all the time, as well as so we call them sub powers. Those are things like the sorcerer meteorites or like the barbarian
but
earthquakes.
like 5 times
Those
damage.
things that happen based on other things, but they create like another
Maybe you can make a
power that
meteor
comes out.
sword now.
We are juicing those up a lot more. So these should be some of the most powerful versions of these sub-powers in the game from these runes. And as you can see here, meteorites is jumping up a whole bunch, as well as the offering cost is going down. So you're going to be able to summon a lot more of these as well.
210%.
And then one of the
increase.
other things I saw feedback was around the Se rune. I don't know exactly how to say it.
And did
myself.
he watch
I'll
my
ask you even
my
about that
Necromancer
after this.
Spirit Wolf
But,
build? That thing was so
when we summoned
fast.
Spirit wolves, and they didn't feel as
No, they do 0 damage. Like
they
actually,
didn't
it's
feel
so
as
bad.
impactful because their AI was not as poppy
But-
as like say the Necromancer's minions running around a lot more quickly. So we adjusted that.
Maybe it only
and,
works for the druid, but
so
like,
we're gonna have
I
a video
wanna try to
coming up
make
here
a,
in second, and we can see
minion one.
So now you're gonna summon those wolves. They're gonna pop up and do their attack. And if you jump to the next pack, they're going to jump forward.
Oh,
Except
that's
this is
cool.
going to happen a lot more frequently than before. So now if you, say, fight that pack, jump to the next one, every time those wolves are going to just keep jumping and keep leaping. And this works in ranged as well. So if you're fighting some enemy over here,
It's
to
an
the
interesting
left,
showcase
and
to
you
make
fight,
rogue with
you
wolves,
attack
but
them, your wolves are going to jump immediately over there.
if it
And then
actually
you switch
works,
to this
I
other
will be
group on the
impressed.
right,
But my
those
guess is
wolves
it's
are
going to
jump
be
across the
useless
screen,
unless
because
it's
we've
really
also
like
increased,
on easy
that
difficulty.
aggro range as well for that.
Yeah,
So
they feel
hopefully
a lot more
it will be cool,
responsive,
though.
and like even in that clip, we saw them jump into the pack at basically the same time we did, right?
Yeah.
They are right there with you. They're not lagging behind, and
Right.
and that's
good.
That's always like the worst feeling when like, hey, some of this thing, where are they?
Yeah,
What are they
it's
doing?
like they're back
lagging
there a
behind.
mile away.
They're no longer lazy dogs. They're,
Yeah, they were tired. They were tired.
Tired little pups, you know? And then here's some examples of those runes of ritual. Again, those are the ones that are generating this offering. And so these are mostly going to be changes to those magic and rare runes, where we've taken that offering they give and we've really knocked it up to be a
Oh,
lot
Yak's got a
closer
big
to where
buff.
those
That one's actually
legendary
not that hard to use,
versions of
especially
these
with
are.
Spiritborn,
And that should
with the
hopefully
giant
give us a lot more
shell.
options when it comes
Yaks
to
is gonna be
deciding
actually
which
pretty good,
combination of
guys.
Which runes that we are using, so.
It also just
Actually.
means things are a lot more reliable. Like you're actually getting procs way more
Yeah.
often with these buffs.
Wait, hold
Yeah,
on. I'm
actually
going to
to
cheat and I'm
see
going to
the
go back.
Deciding
So it was offering gained increased from 2 to 5. Okay,
Which
so it's like
one happen,
pretty.
right? See those
pretty
effects
nice
happen
buff.
a little bit more often.
Yeah, so tons of rune changes that are coming.
Any more rune changes? 'Cause I
and
wanna make one video
as,
dedicated towards this.
Anthony mentioned, there's way more details
Ah,
in
okay,
the actual
okay.
patch notes
So I'll have to wait.
themselves, so people can check that out after the stream, along with all the class changes, the system changes, the
Okay, yeah,
progression
I'll just-
changes. It's all detailed out there for players specifically.
You know, I had one thing because I think we might have forgotten it, and I'm very concerned about monitor violence.
Oh, yes.
We heard a lot of people wanted to punch their monitors.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
When you get a greater affix on impairment resistance. So
Oh,
yeah.
as
Oh,
yeah.
monitor enthusiasts, we've just removed that from the affix pool.
Yeah, can we move life on hit?
Please don't. Less
They're
punching,
innocent.
less punching of monsters.
Life per
Save the
second.
monitors,
They're
please.
innocent.
Okay, I think.
And one thing I do want
I think
to
that's
call out
wrapping
Runewords.
this
We
up on
actually,
Runewords.
funny
Oh, wait,
enough,
hold
we
on.
got a lot of feedback about players saying like, hey, we noticed like different art
Yeah.
on some of the classic runes that they may have seen from like back in D2. That art has been updated to match what you saw in D2. So
Okay, cool. So they're changing the way that the runes
they-
look.
yeah,
That's the new
shout
rune
out
system.
To the history of runes there for everyone. So
Okay, cool. That's probably
thank you
gonna
guys
wrap it up.
for,
Okay.
jumping
That's gonna
into
wrap
this.
it
And
up.
I will say, like, this team.
I'm curious to know, what do you guys think about the new rune system? Do you guys like it? I mean, we are getting some nerfs and there are some buffs. I think they should just buff them all, just that way no one is upset. That's my personal take on it, though.